I happen to be enthusiastic about the invisible hand of economics, and the jobs that that we all have now didn't even exist when we were in high school. We couldn't even imagine all the things happening with the internet and cloud and robotics and so on. But so we can't imagine the stuff in 20 years from now. I don't think we should let that scare us into believing, well, there won't be anything. Jaron, you might have a different
Oh
take.
yeah, and I wrote a book about this called "Who Owns the Future" a long time ago, and by the way, the Invisible Hand. If you go back to Adam Smith's original book about the Invisible Hand, it's very much about this stuff, and he comes down very much where I would be in this humanist perspective, and uh, the notion I think to keep in mind is that when we decide that somebody should be paid for a job, it's not strictly clean. In other words, there's not some sort of meta market where the nature of jobs are fully decided in a totally fair way because there's no room in reality for that thing. Instead, there's a cultural setting where we decide some things are women's work, which you don't get paid for because you're just at home. Some things are worth a lot, some things are worth a little. And that is really a separate system that is moderated by interacting with supply and demand, but it also is separate from it. So, um, if you believe what I do, that AI is just a form of human collaboration, then you might look at somebody losing a job to an AI as sort of being ripped off, because what it means is whoever owns the AI platform, and let's remember these are all commercial private platforms, has taken all of the data from some people, pretended that they came up with it, made up a sort of a superhuman that's actually just all those other people, and then put people out of work using their own data. And it feels terribly, terribly unfair. On the other hand, I do agree with what David said. I believe in an optimistic future of unbounded creative expansion of what people can think and do. I very strongly believe in that. And the thing is, if you believe in that potential unbounded future, if you believe in human potential that much, you don't want to seek a world of universal basic income where we just assume people are done, don't have anything of value, and we just sit around and we hope that some bad actor doesn't take care of the UBI central hub, and they would. Instead, what we want is some new economy of creative data where people are incentivized and rewarded for coming up with new kinds of data that we don't even imagine now and getting good at it. And then when AIs incorporate it and simulate it, they move on to the next super creative thing. And people keep on growing and changing and stay on this creative edge, expanding outward into the galaxy and into a space of creative possibility as big as the galaxy. I totally want that future.
So you're both of the view that was well said, Jaron. Do you're both of the view that AI actually could end up complementing human work, not replacing it? Because that's one of the things we're being told. Because when I was listening to Jaron, I was thinking, this country was based on the Protestant work ethic. There have been books by social scientists that said, good or bad, Americans value who they are by what they do. People put in a day's work, and there's incredible value in feeling, that it's not that you want to be slackers. It's just that we're all countries founded on the idea that when people go to a party and they introduce each other, the first thing they usually say is, "What do you do?" Well, in an AI world in which we're being described, we're going to go, that's an anachronistic question. Nobody does anything anymore. We just wait for AI and accept our universal income because the government knows that it has to give us some money in order to exist. Otherwise, remember, after the Industrial Revolution, I suspect democracies realized you had to keep the people happy because otherwise you're going to get the Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake, and then your head comes off. People have to have things to do and they have to have money. And so it's as if to say we can have confidence that maybe it'll lead to more jobs, but there are consequences of it leading to massive unemployment.
I would put it differently. Oh, do you want to? Why don't you go, David? Then I'll go.
I was just going to say, look, I agree. I mean, the concern is that idle hands are the devil's work, and if a
Yes.
lot of people are unemployed, yeah, that is a concern. But I think the thing about people working hard, this work ethic that we all have, that follows whatever technology is present. So, for example, as different stages of software have been introduced, it made people much more productive, much more able to get stuff done. But it didn't reduce our work hours. People work harder than ever. I mean, here in Silicon Valley, people work all day and all night. even though they have this software that's 10x them from where they were 20 years ago. So it may well be that even in the world of AI, we're making bigger and better stuff. Let me just give a 1 second example. This is a project I did with my 14-year-old boy. We were looking at the fireplace mantle, and there's a little shape there. So we took a picture, asked ChatGPT to describe a statue that could fit right in that spot. Then we went over to Jaron's house, used some software to turn that into a 3D thing, and printed it on his 3D printer. And in like what amounted to 5 minutes of labor, made like this super cool statue that went on the fireplace. And for a 14-year-old boy, I think that's a higher level than when we were kids and we could draw something or whatever. But like actually making a statue and doing that is good stuff. What were you going to say, Jaron?
Okay, a couple things. One is I love doing that project with your son. That was such a joy. It was more than 5 minutes. Like the act to actually make a 3D print work is a bit of a thing. And anyway, but can I show this one off? This is silver from yesterday. It's a silver cast from a 3D resin print. Anyway, the I would not say AI will be our partner or coworker or whatever. I don't think there is an AI. I think there's just a collaboration of people. So what I would prefer to use a language where we say we find new ways to collaborate with each other through information technology, or find some more graceful words than that. But I don't like the idea of thinking of the AI as a party, because when you think of an AI as a person, what you're really doing is giving power and money to a big corporation, some of which comes to me, so I shouldn't really complain. But I still don't think it's the correct language. I think,
well, it's also less threatening. If you told people this is really just a lot of social collaboration, relax, that's all that's happening. And the difference is we now have the technology to process all of that social collaboration and let it do the things that David said earlier that we couldn't possibly do. We couldn't remember everything. We couldn't possibly know everything. This stuff can retain all the information and spit it back in some logical, coherent way.
Yeah, and it's true that since the dawn of information technology with Alan Turing, people have gotten busier and busier in terms of just the level. Like we spend so much time every day now dealing with passwords and codes and authentication and updates and like all this stuff, which like there's a certain kind of foam of meaninglessness that's kind of emanated from Silicon Valley that's eaten some of our lives. What I really want to see as a computer scientist is that thing go down. In a way, I almost worry about that more than the AI thing, because like AI will figure out, but I don't want a world where we're spending 99% of our time entering codes and numbers just to be authenticated or something. That's a future that we could be heading to in some form. So I don't know, like there are many things to worry about.